Been waiting a long time for a day like this. A little over 50 degrees outside in the shop, nice and comfortable. Perfect day for starting the project of coating the frame, which we are ready to do. In the last video, in case you didn't catch it, we prepared the frame for coating, and that was a bit of a dirty process, but it came out great. Everything is ready, stripped, and it's time to get with the coating process. Now, let's talk about the product. The product I'm going to be using is what's called KBS Coatings. And they have a package that's called Clean, Blast, Seal. And it's a 3-step process, and it's pretty easy to do. I'm not connected with these people. I don't know anybody. I spent my own money on the product. And that's because a long time ago, probably 5 years ago, I used this product on my Bel Air before I even had a YouTube channel. And it's just been a really good coating for a frame. And then I wound up using it on the front of my Dakota as well. And let me go show you guys that, because it's still in damn good shape. I used it on the frame and control arms, cross member, everything I had pulled out of here, and it came out pretty fantastic. I did do it in the summertime, so it's not as flat as I would have liked it to be, but it's like liquid powder coat. The stuff is really adhesive, has a great bond, and it's hard to scratch up. And so I put it on my Dakota as well, and it's really held up fantastic. So for the money and the ease of doing it, I highly recommend it. The $70 or $75 kit that I have will do an entire frame, 2 coats. So highly recommend it. It's dirty right now because this is my drag and drive vehicle, if you don't know. And I don't have inner fender wells in this truck, and it gets really nasty dirty, but I guarantee you I could soap this thing down and the frame would look great, other than some of the oil deposits I have from a little bit of a leak that I had. So again, I'm a big fan of the product, and I'm not at any mercy to tell you guys that I do really recommend it. And I hope you guys, if you do use it, you have the same results. So let's look at the kit real quick. Here we go. This is the product. This is all that comes in the box. Cleaning solvent, your zinc etcher and frame preparer, and then your actual product itself. So this we're going to dilute it, and this is the first step. So you're going to spray the frame with this, and then let it do its magic. What it does is it pulls all the contaminants, oils, grease, whatever else off the frame. You let it sit and kind of do its thing. You can even agitate it if you'd like to make it work a little bit better. And then you rinse it off with water and you let it dry. Once it's dry, then you come back and you use this rust blast. And this rust blast is like a rust converter. So any remaining rust that's on the frame, it'll convert into, I don't know, maybe carbon. I'm not 100% sure, but it does a really good job. It kind of gets rid of all that rust, and then it etches the metal to help a good bond here, and even has like a zinc coating that's left behind. So we'll spray this on, let it work, keep it wet, do its thing, then we'll rinse this off, and then we'll wait overnight. It's going to be a 2-day process here. So we're going to do the cleaning and the treatment today. Then tomorrow we have to make sure it's completely dry before we go ahead and lay this stuff on. This is probably the easiest part. This stuff's a little bit more tedious. It's just the fact that you have to keep the frame saturated and wet, at least for, I think, 30 minutes on both products, to really have a good outcome. And prep is everything. I think a lot of people know that for any kind of painting thing. The better your prep, the better it's going to adhere, the better the product is going to be, the better the result is going to be. So I have bought a couple other things and have something else that I'm going to use to help this process go a little bit faster. So I will show you guys that. First of all, you don't want to paint out of the bucket. There's a reason for that, because this stuff, like I said, is like liquid powder coat. If you paint out of the bucket, it's going to be really hard to get this lid off ever again. And I'll show you what we do when we're ready to close this up and we're done with it. From there, I'm going to pour into this and use the brush I did buy a little bit more of a mediocre brush, and the reason for that is because when I use the brushes that come in the kit, I've had them leave fibers behind, and once that gets in there, you can't get them out, so you have little fibers kind of sticking out everywhere. It shouldn't matter much on the rear frame because it's going to be under the bed of the truck, but I did want to go ahead and buy a better brush and see if I get a better result. Other than that, I also bought some rollers because there's so many flat surfaces on the frame that a roller should actually do a really good job of covering a lot of area pretty fast. And the thing is, all you do is 2 thin coats debating on where you live, I should say that. So you don't need a whole lot of heavy coat on the frame to get this done. So I think this is going to come out to be my favorite. I think all this stuff together was 15 or 20 bucks. So a little over $100, you're kind of ready. I did buy another spray bottle. I actually bought 2 just in case I need that one for something else, because we do have to dilute this stuff. This stuff is pretty gnarly. It stinks. It cleans really, really well, and this is actually even a good cleaner to use before you're going to use like regular paint or something else like that. But you really have to dilute it when you're doing something like that, because it's gonna clean up some stuff really well. So they do say you use hot water, so I'm gonna go inside here in a minute and do that. I'm planning on doing a 5-to-1 ratio, and I should be able to look at that. There's a 4-to-1. I don't see a 5-to-1, and you know, because of that, I think I'm just gonna go ahead and do a 4-to-1 ratio. So I'm gonna fill it up to here with the rust clean, and then I'm gonna fill it the rest of it to the neck with hot water. So yeah, it'll be a little bit more diluted, and I'm okay with that. Lastly, I have a pump sprayer, and ooh, this pump sprayer is leaking. I don't know why it's leaking. Anyway, we're gonna look at that in a minute, but that's gonna help me rinse the product off. If you don't have access to a hose bib, or you know, a good way to do this, I'm gonna spray it off with that pump sprayer, because it's gonna really help me rinse off all that chemical. The chemical apparently is supposed to be safe, so you can rinse it off in your grass, your driveway, and it's not supposed to be very harmful or anything like that. But that's at your own risk, and since I don't have that, I'm using this pump sprayer to rinse it off really well. So like I said, let's go ahead and get started on the first step. All right, I have it all filled up. You can see it's to the, well, I don't know if you can see it, but it's pretty much to the line right here in the bottle. So this is a 4-to-1 dilution. If you look at the instructions, and I'll read it to you, you're not gonna be able to see this on camera. So it says effective dilution rates will vary according to the type and degree of contaminants as well as surface materials. So if you got a nasty dirty frame, or whatever piece of metal you're working on, you're gonna want to go ahead and dilute it a little bit more concentrated. So you'll do like a 3-to-1, 2-to-1, maybe even 1-to-1. Just be careful, because you're gonna have to make sure you rinse it all off. It's not good for the product to just stay on the frame, because I don't think the seal stuff will adhere very well. Also, it also recommends that you use warm water. The warmer the water, the more effective and powerful the cleaning action of KBS Clean will be. So I got my tap water as hot as can go, and put it in here, shook it all up, and we're good to go. A couple things that I forgot to go over. This is a red SOS pad that you can buy in the paint department, or even at O'Reilly's or whatever else. It's like 3M. It's almost like 400 or 350 grit sandpaper. I could not get to these areas with the grinder, so I used this. I came back and scrubbed it all up and got all that top layer, flaky layer off of the surface rust. It worked a little bit better on that side than it did on this side, but I did that because I want to paint these as well. So this is also a very good thing to have. Additionally, if you've got a real nasty frame with a lot of rust, maybe you got a Northern truck or something else like this, after we spray this product on there, you can take these pads, these Brillo pads, whatever you want to call them, and then agitate the cleaner. Just make sure you wear some gloves if you're going to do that, because like I said, that stuff's kind of gnarly. But I'm not probably going to do that. I'm probably just going to soak it because it's pretty clean. So here we go. We're gonna get right to it here. It's not too difficult, but let me get the camera set up and we'll get after it. Oh, and yeah, if you are working in your garage or shop or whatever else, make sure you put some tarp down, because one, it'll help with this stuff, but when it comes time to coat it, that stuff doesn't come off floors. Make sure you prepare for that, because it's some gnarly stuff. It won't come off your clothes, it won't come off your hands for at least some time. So we'll talk about that tomorrow, but I did want to make sure that you protected your floors before we go after spraying this thing. All right, here we go. Here's the key. We're going to spray this down and I'm going to coat the whole thing. So I'm just going to keep spraying until it's all coated. Then I'm going to watch it basically, and I'm just going to keep the frame coated with this cleaner for at least 15 minutes. Probably I might do 30. So if it starts looking like it's going to dry off somewhere, I'm going to spray those spots again, because this stuff needs to soak. So it needs to soak for anywhere from 15 to 30 minutes depending on how dirty the frame is. So that's all I'm going to do on this part. I'm going to set up on time lapse because it's just me spraying a frame with a solution. All right, here we go. Let's get after it. Sad puppy, because I'm not playing with her. I'm sorry, cuckoo. You got something in your eye? Daddy's gonna have to clean out your eye. Anyway, stay. Okay, let me show you guys what I'm doing. It's not rocket science. This thing, first of all, sucks. I don't know why it just doesn't want to consistently spray. So I'm dealing with that. Maybe you don't go with that brand, which I think is HDX Home Depot. But all I'm doing is, if you can see the reflection, I'm just keeping the frame coated. So I'm going after it every so often. The first coat's kind of the hardest one to get on. It's the heaviest coat, and then you just give it a little while and keep spraying it where you see it drying up, especially underneath it, which is probably my hardest place to get to. But that's all I'm doing. I'm going to do this until 30 minutes is up, and then I'm going to take my pump sprayer and spray it all down with water, and I'm just going to let it dry. And go probably clean up shop a little bit, and then we'll come back out with the other spray, which I hope works a whole lot better, and we'll coat it with that zinc spray. So and then that's the same process. So I'll get back to you guys when we're going to rinse this down, and then we'll let it dry, and then we'll follow up with that this evening. All right, here we go. Pump sprayer, fresh water, pumped up, and we're just gonna rinse this guy off. All right, I got all the doors open. Let's get some breeze through here. Let this frame dry up. So it'll be a little bit of a mess down here. We'll see if that dries up. I'm not sure how well that's gonna go. It is a little bit more of a dry day than humid day today, which is perfect optimal conditions for doing this, and tomorrow as well. They do say if it's more humid, it's everything dries up faster, and that's inclusive of the sealant, because apparently it cures faster the moister the air is. So I'm glad I'm doing it like kind of in the winter time when there's a low humidity, because it's going to give a better result. But anyway, all right, now we just gotta let this stuff dry. I'll see you a little bit later. Okay, basically what I'm showing you guys here is after I had sprayed the frame with the KBS Rust Blast, which is the second step of the process. Unfortunately, I think it got a little cold for my GoPros and they did not record audio. But it's the same exact process as the cleaner. Get the frame wet, keep it wet for 15 to 30 minutes, then wash it all off. Make sure you rinse this stuff off real good, because there's a zinc agent in it and you don't want too much on your frame. But it's a really, really simple process, and then we let it dry overnight, and I'll go into that here in a second. Happy Sunday. I want to start today off with some thanks going out to somebody. When I started working on the truck, which looks kind of funny right now, and I'll explain that to you guys in a minute, I had to use a air hammer and some other things that were really loud and hurt my ears and were kind of a safety thing. And a good friend of mine that we met at Sick Week this year, earlier in the year, Brandon, who has his own YouTube channel called Turbo V6. He's actually been on the Faster with Finnegan episode dealing with the monsoon. He's an awesome guy, and he out of the blue sent me a care package, which is a face shield and ear muffs in one, which I realized the next day after working with some of the other stuff, I can't use both my mask and my ear muffs at the same time. And he said, here you go, buddy, I've got it solved for you. And Brandon, thank you a whole bunch. This is awesome. I will put this to good use. It's got two different screens. It's got a mesh screen and a regular screen, and I'm just I'm super blessed, and I certainly appreciate it. So if you guys haven't checked his YouTube channel out, he's an extremely smart guy. I know a little bit. He is really smart, so I feel like a doofus with the information that guy can do. He can get into these newer GM computers. He's done it with his own Sonoma build, where he calls it the Sinoma. It's a turbocharged stock 4.3 liter truck that runs 10s, and he built his own operating system to tune it. And it's pretty cool, because not only going into a little deep dive here on tech, apparently some of the factory GM computers don't allow certain things. Well, he's found a way that one or two of them, he can even build integrated boost control, which all of it is above my head anyway, but apparently that's a huge deal. And anyway, his link is down in the description of this video. He has a great channel. He's building a Firebird right now that's really cool. He's just keeping it with the 3.8 liter, putting a turbocharger on it and seeing what he can do with it, which is pretty neat, because LSs are awesome, and that's kind of where our bread and butter is at the moment. But to do something with the little V6 and actually kind of come through and show its capabilities is pretty cool. So thanks again, Brandon. Y'all go check him out. Let's get on to today's task here, which is going to be sealing the frame. Now, before we do anything, I want to show you the frame. So it looks kind of funny. There's all this white stuff on it, and this white stuff, which I thought I rinsed off better than I did, but I guess with that little pump sprayer it didn't rinse off that great. But this is all zinc phosphate coating that was part of the KBS cleaner. That's why it looks real funny. It looks almost like it's corroded. It is a little powdery, and I might hit it with my little air thing real quick to kind of blow some of it off. But it actually doesn't hurt it to be there. It helps with the adhesion of the coating, so I'm not going to go too crazy on it, because it's gonna, it's gonna be underneath it, and it's gonna really help prevent some more corrosion. So It looks fantastic. I pulled up the tarp last night and dumped all the water off of it so I can lay it back down here. So that's what I'm gonna get busy doing in a minute. Just going ahead and prepping and getting everything ready to go. I don't remember if you remember what I said yesterday or if I've said it before. This stuff gets on things and it does not come off. So don't wear anything that you're attached to. Don't try to wear gloves and keep it off your skin as much as possible. And yeah, just be careful with it. So definitely putting some drapery down so I don't mess up the floor, even though it's just a concrete floor. And we'll go from there. So let me get that stuff all ready and we'll get started on painting this thing. All right, here we go. Turning it upside down because there may be some sediment on the bottom per the instructions. But I'm not really shaking it. That's kind of what they said. And now let's pull the top off this guy. Okay. It's got these little locks, which are cool. There we go. I'm sure this is for shipping purposes. And then it says, careful with opening it so you don't deform the lid. Well, I understand what they're saying, but I'm going to be careful with opening it and try not to deform the lid. They basically say don't use a screwdriver, but I think you're okay as long as you kind of go around it like that. And there we go. It's pretty obvious that this is a sandwich bag. And I'm going to cut this sandwich bag. There's a reason for it. Because this stuff is so adhesive when it gets exposed to the air and moisture that if you get it between the lid and close it without a barrier, it will permanently seal the can. So they recommend that you put some kind of plastic barrier between it. I've always used these. It works pretty good if you ask me. And so when we get ready to close it, I'll have the ability to do so. All right, so I'm also gonna use it as a little protector here, although this table's not really much to protect. Okay, let's get the top back off. Now this part's pretty simple. You're just gonna stir it, but what's real important is when you're stirring it is that you're getting down to the bottom and you're pulling any kind of sediment up. And well, we're gonna stir it for about 3 minutes and then we're ready to get it into the containers. We're not gonna pour it into the containers. I'll show you what I'm gonna do for that. Obviously that's not rocket science. You just keep stirring it nice and smoothly for 3 minutes until it's done picking up sediment off the bottom. Right? It's not too terribly difficult. I didn't have gloves on at first. Now I do because I forgot. Good news is I realized it right away and that wasn't a problem. All right, so now we're gonna pour this into here for the brush. We're gonna start with the brush and I'll explain why in a minute, but here's a couple things worth noting. They don't pour it out from here. You waste a lot that way, and you don't want it in. You want it in here as little as possible because, again, you want to be able to open the can later on. Secondly, don't vice versa. Don't get this stuff done, pour it back into the can. They said the exposure, putting it back in the can, shortens the lifespan of this. So, like, this is way more than I need today. So I don't want to mess that up. So basically, just try to pull out as much as you think you need. I'm gonna go kind of light on the first couple and hopefully just use what I need. And what I rigged up a device here to try to pour some out, and I think maybe about a cap and a half of this is gonna work, except I don't think it's gonna fit. So let me just go ahead and, oh man, it's gonna be, ooh buddy. There it goes. I guess we're gonna go ahead and get ready to go paint. That's all that's left. All right, I've been doing quite a bit of painting, but you can't really see most of it. You can see some here and some here, but what I've been doing is getting all of the underside. So I got all the underside there, the underside of this support, and there's no flattering way for me to film that. So I did you all a favor and did not film that for you. But let me show you the process with the brush while I can still get in here and do all this. It's not real hard. It's kind of, I'm pretty sure anybody could figure this out, but starting to run a little low on paint here, and this stuff is, the frame's really cold, so it's tacking up real quick, and oh well, it may not be the smoothest today, but just about a 1/4 inch on the brush, and then you just cover as much area as you can with the strokes. Try not to go over it too many times because it will start pulling it up off the material. And then yeah, just, you know, get as much coverage as you can, especially with the brush before you switch to maybe a roller or a paint sprayer. You can use a paint sprayer on this. Apparently you just have to thin it out. That's above my pay grade, so I'm not going to tell you guys how to do that, but comes out real nice. It should flatten out. This stuff takes a while to flatten out, so it might still be okay, but yeah, it's just a little tedious, but yeah, that's the process there. Let me finish up getting the rest of this stuff done, and then we'll get on to the roller and I'll show you guys that. All right, here we go for part 2. Got my little tray, a little roller, another 1.5 cups of the stuff in there. I'm going to try to roll it on and see how well that works. This may have been a little bit too much for the roller, but I'm going to find out, right? Oh wow, that's easy. I had a feeling it was the right call. I said I'm gonna have to get in there what the brush looks like. Definitely the way to go for these flat surfaces. Look how beautiful this is. It still needs another coat, but the first coat is on, and we're at show car status right now. Not really, but this is awesome. This is going to be so much nicer to work on. It's going to be protected for the life of the truck. It's going to look pretty good too. I think I'm going to have to wheel this around and pressure wash the bottom of this thing out before I do anything else with it, because, well, I don't want to put all that gunk on here, you know. But that roller, that's the way to do it if you got some flat surfaces. I should have probably done the bottom that way. I'm figuring that out now, but I will probably try that once it's ready to go back. I've used a little bit more than I would like to, but it's pretty cold in the shop, and I think that makes it a little bit thicker than it usually is, as far as applying, but that's okay, whatever. We're gonna have good results with it, and that's all that matters. So I'm gonna chill out here, let this stuff dry, do another coat, and then I'm gonna call it. And man, just look how beautiful all that is. I'm in a little bit of a pickle here. First of all, it looks great. Came out really, really good. It did flatten out, especially with the roller, and it looks good. However, it's only got one coat on it, and per the instruction, it recommends 2 coats of the sealer, or the rust seal, and paint, whatever you want to call it. And I only got 1 coat on it, and that's because it took about 24 hours to dry. And go figure, Houston, Texas, where we're known to have 80-degree Christmases, we're getting a bit of a cold front. And that stuff gets really thick below 55 degrees, and it has not gotten over 55 degrees since I painted the frame. So I can't put another layer on it, at least not for a week. So I'm kind of at a stopping point. I do think I'm going to coat it again, you know, do my best to put another coat on it. But yeah, I'm going to have to wait till it warms up before I can do that. And I don't think it'll look any different. So at least you guys get the visual effect of the coating on the frame. But we're definitely in a good spot. I'm excited to have it all done. It looks fantastic. And my parts came in for the suspension. So we can keep moving. That's what that means. The next step, what we're going to do, which I still have to plan out, is I'm going to have to go get some steel, which is interesting. I've never bought steel before, so that'll be fun. And we're going to box in this frame here to make it stronger. And because when we do the roll cage is going to come through the back, either glass. I'd like to try to get it up here. Probably can't get it up here, but it's got to tie into the frame. And the frame has to be boxed in those areas. So while we have everything out, we might as well box it for strength anyway. So we're gonna plan that out. My buddy Tommy's gonna help me kind of figure out the best way to do that. We still have to put a center support in here and trying to figure out if we're gonna cut out the bolt that way. Anyway, there's a lot of planning to do. I guess that's what I'm getting at. But look at it. It looks fantastic. And that's awesome. And this, like I said, this stuff is so freaking tough. You know, it's almost like liquid powder coat is what I call it. And it's never looked better. Now I want to take the cab off and finish that, but we're not getting there. We're just not getting there. It's time to try to get this thing back on the road as soon as possible and try to make some passes. Especially since Houston Raceway Park is closing down. I think the last opportunity is March. I don't know if we're gonna get there. That's the current goal right now. So, all right, let's shut it down. Thank you guys for watching. Let me know what you think of the frame. And you know, this project's coming along pretty well. It's a lot more steps than the usual 8.8 swap, but it's gonna be worth it. And I can't wait to get parts on here and get everything ready. So, all right, I'm gonna shut it down, go in the house and warm up. But I really hope you guys have a fantastic Christmas. Stay warm. Enjoy what other holidays that you are going to celebrate this year. And we'll see y'all next time. Until next time, you know the deal. Y'all be good.